So we're going to be sharing the first 4 chapters of our module 10 from our foundations course. My name is Jose Vega and I've been working as a senior environment concept artist in the gaming, animation, and film industry for over a decade. Now in this video, you're going to see my general rule and pipeline for black and white sketching. Now I use this on my professional work. I do from 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 30 minutes to 2 hours. I will show you when to actually use each of these approaches and how much time you need to spend at each stage. Now the full foundation course covers 11 modules and that cover everything from the foundational parts of environment design to design principles, practices, studies, and everything to design your environment that we can use for either film, video games, or animation. If you're interested in that, I'll make sure that I put all the links in the description below. This module is really all about black and white sketching. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about my own beliefs on black and white sketching, how I use them, why I use them, if I use them, and what type and what sort of range of time I'm going to be spending on this black and white sketching. Now, I don't see, first of all, this is mostly how I work personally and the work that I normally do. And so I want to talk a little bit about the different stages because, you will see online people doing, super quick black and white sketches, couple minutes sketches or couple hours sort of black and white sketches, right? And to me, it really all depends on what the end goal is, what the final image is going to be. If, for example, we have a process where we are an illustrator, for example, right, and you have to turn in sketches, for example, right, something like this will give a pretty good idea of what the final could be. And so you could have multiple compositions and character placement and all of that, even color with it, right? But you're not going to really spend a lot of time adding all the details because the final product that you're going to turn in is actually the final colored illustration or the final black and white illustration, whichever the case. And so I think you have to be aware about what that final product is going to be for you to decide how much time you're going to spend. At least that's the way I'm going to do it. Now, I'm going to take you through all of these different examples and why I use them or if I will use them. And that way you can sort of have a general idea and then you can figure out for yourself how you want to tackle this. But this is sort of like the work that we're going to be doing in this module, right? We're going to break it up into pretty much by time frame and purpose, right? And so ideally in a regular, most often situation, this is the type of black and white sketches that I do right here, which is going to be our final ones. And in other cases, the other most commons are something more like in the line of this right here. So you can see this, right? And so I do it mostly as an exploration sort of pipeline where I'm trying to figure out certain details and things that don't have to do with color. So I can figure out composition, I can figure out lighting, I can figure out textures and value separation and all that with just a black and white without having to worry about values. And in this particular case, we're doing mostly organic stuff. And so it might be a little bit different for, let's say, for example, architecture. It's not going to be that much different, but architecture we're going to deal with on a different module. But this is going to be mostly just organic material, right? You got rocks and undergrounds and stuff like that. Okay, so first of all, we have our 5-minute timers, and we'll break all these down into separate videos, right? But just to give you a general idea. And these 5 minutes and these 20 minutes is actually they are the same image, right? So this one is from this one to this one. You will see this on the videos, right? How I got from here to here and how I will spend it that time. But this is really just very similar to our value studies that we did on the study section module, where we're just trying to block out the general gesture of the values of the composition. Now, in these particular examples, this is really almost like a compositional exploration, right? Where I'm actually thinking about the composition of the final image or whatever the image I am creating. And I'm thinking about the lighting and mood and all of that, right? There are some other cases like these over here where I am just looking for different ideas. Now, this is just mostly like an idea generation type of process where I'm trying to figure out certain things that I want to put in to the final image. Now, it's very rare that I get to do this type of exploration unless it's like personal stuff that I just want to have fun and play around, right? I rarely do this in my professional uh, pipeline or any of these, right? This right here are closer to what I would do on a studio setting or for a client or just to explore different ideas as concept artists in for an actual client. These, of course, will be something even closer to what I would do and turn in, because normally in a job setting, it's very rare, or I have never had the situation where they tell me, "Oh, you only have 20 minutes to give me something," type thing. It's usually something like, "Oh, let's have something by the end of the day, or by the middle of the week, or by the end of the week." So I do have a little bit of time to plan things out. And so me knowing the type of image, right, that I can create in a day or half a day or a week, then I can plan my pipeline appropriately and do the images that I need to do. And so, for example, to give you an example, these right here with the 3D and we getting into these could be done all three in one day, 8 to 10 hours of work, right? So the 3D usually takes me like an hour to 2 hours. And then from the render, let's say 30 minutes to an hour each of these, right? So I'll be like 8 to 9, 10 hours, depending on what's the content on the image. And we'll talk more about this when we get to this. But like I said, these right here it's very unusual that I would do these for a client. And so these will be great to actually just exercise your compositional skills, your lighting skills, and your values skills as well. And also your creativity as well. And you will see why, especially when we get to the photo bashing part of it and just playing with the pictures and see what you can create with it. And so that's sort of like the scope of what we will be talking about, right? We'll go through first the 5 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes, and go throughout and what's the difference between these. So, from a 5 minutes to 10 minutes using different techniques. And if I have a little bit of time, how would that look like? And then finally we'll compile all the different ideas that we develop here and then create these 3 scenes. And this is also based on the project that we have been working on in this course. And so we'll probably on the different module take everything that we learned here and just create another nice finished colored painting similar to our final one, which we did, I think, in module 8 or 7. So the first one that we are going to be doing is going to be a 5-minute sort of time limit type of sketch. Now, I'm a fan of time limits in most cases, right? Because it helps me just to kind of keep the schedule going and limit myself into not overworking something that doesn't need to be overworked, right? And so every time I work on a sketch like this, we're going, normally I don't want to spend more than 5 minutes. Now, this one in particular is going to be very similar in mindset with the same set of sketches that I did for module 5. And so I'm going to have the same sort of mindset where it's almost like note taking. I just want to almost scribble something quick to get it out of my mind into paper or computer and have a visual reference. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set up a very quick, simple perspective grid. Now I sort of have an idea already of what I want to do, right? And so I want to have a sort of lower, let's go back here. Sort of lower perspective like this looking down, very similar to our main concept on the previous modules. It's gonna reduce the opacity there. Now we're gonna spend a little bit more than 5 minutes because I'm walking you through this. But what I want to do, and I already sort of have an idea that the main idea for this, what I want to work all the way to the end, is this sort of entrance idea that we are going to work, right? And so I'm gonna keep that in mind as I work this. And I'm gonna set up a very simple brush, right? Just to kind of sketch my idea. You could use really whatever brush that you want, texture or whatever, but I want to keep it as simple as possible. And I'm really just gonna start making some lines and trying to put all the sort of ideas that I have for this as quickly as possible, right? Now I am not thinking, I'm mostly thinking about composition in the image, right? But I'm also thinking as just kind of put the main things of the idea down, right? And I'll walk you through this as I make them. Now I'm thinking that yes, this is going to be our entrance here, right? And this entrance is going to have probably a lot of webbings here. Now I technically do not know right now. I don't know exactly the shape of what the webbings are going to have, right? It could be sort of like a circular fashion like this. I'm using the eraser for this, right? I do want to have some steps in here, sort of like a platform going down, right? And this is going to be almost like a circular setup here where I'm going to have a space between the upper wall, which is this over here, right? And the lower wall here, because I do want to have, and maybe it kind of connects maybe to the entrance here, where this is going to be full of like webs, almost like if the webs are holding these walls from falling, like keeping them together type thing, right? Now again, I'm not worried about the little things like, oh, how does the stair connects to the entrance, or what's going to be exactly the shape of this webs. Like I'm not worried about that at this stage. I just want to get the main idea down just to kind of see if it's going to work or not. And these pieces of wall could be like all cracked up or something like that, right? Or it could be where maybe the cracks are sort of like going sideways like this, and the stones are sort of like shifting a little bit. It's kind of cool actually. And this is going on a circular fashion. Right? It could be kind of cool. But again, those details we could sort of figure those out in later stages. I'm not too concerned about that right now, right? But I'm following that that perspective grid. Maybe there's some sort of like pattern here on the ground. And we could even make this, let's see here, a little bit smaller just to kind of, just so we can see more of the environment maybe. Right. Again, we don't need to figure everything out, but we just want to get the general idea. Now I'm thinking that this could be like a main sort of entrance, right? Where we could have even like candles and stuff here on here, some sort of like cool floor pattern or something in here, and then we have the entrance here. This could lead to some stairs inside or something, right? But this is going to be full of, or cover and some sort of spider web, just to kind of keep the same theme as our main project here. Right, and so this sort of stage like this is enough for me to get started on the idea already, right? And we could do a couple more. Maybe I'm thinking that maybe the entrance is sort of like on the side here. I'm gonna be using the same perspective. The walls sort of go here into the perspective here, into the camera. Right. Maybe this is all like a abyss. This is all ground, so you sort of like walk through here into that section there, and all you can see over here is just far away, maybe structures or something deep into the underground. Now I do not want this to be cut right in the center, so maybe either we extend this a little bit more, right? Or we extend this a little bit more. Which I sort of like, so just so we can show more of the far away things in here. Now, again, I'm not super worried about the perspective being correct in here. I'm just worried about the main general idea. These are sketches that, that we don't need to show anyone, right? Or I wouldn't show anyone, because this is just mostly for me, right? Do like that. Cool, right? And so let's duplicate this. Here's one, here's another one, right? And so as you can see, I'm keeping these very loose, and I'm not super worried about, any details or anything like that. And you could do a couple of these, right? I'll probably do, 2 or 3. But I want to show you, the main thing here is this is not meant to be a pretty black and white sketch. This is really just kind of figure out the major things and see if it's going to work or not. Maybe we could have a little bit of a background here on these. That'd be kind of cool too. Maybe you can see this huge, thick walls. That are going back into the distance there. Right? And so your character is going to be sort of like standing here. Right? So, yeah. So I like this idea here. I like the centrality, just having this very mirrored like this. Maybe we could do something really cool with the design on the cracks on the wall here. I'm thinking that all this over here is going to be mostly organic rock, right? And we could have some sort of like constructed or built up man-made sort of structure here with our other material. And of course we're going to have the webbings going around. But I'm thinking that most of this is going to be natural rock, that dark natural rock, and we're gonna have that reddish structures going around a little bit. We're gonna be talking about architecture in some other module where we're going to have images like this, but it's mostly going to be man-made architecture, not so much natural. But in this case, we're gonna keep it natural like this. But yeah, I'm excited about this idea. So we're going to continue moving forward. And again, I made a bunch of other very quick sketches that you will have on a timeline. But let's move to another type of sketching here. This other type, again, is going to be a very quick one. Again, I don't want to spend more than 5 minutes on this one because this is also very, very quick as well. But instead of using line, like how we were working on, where I was just doing like lines like this, I'm going to be using shapes and value. Now, one thing is I'm not going to think, or you don't have to, you can, but you don't have to think about lighting on these ones. This is going to be a very quick way of doing it. But this is going to be very similar to our value sketches like this that we did on the studies module, right? And so it's going to be very similar to this, where we're going to sort of block out the general shapes with value like this, and make a compositional value of our scene in here. So again, very, very, very similar. And I want to keep the number of values low, 3, maybe at most 5. But again, I'm gonna go off with the same idea that we had, and see how that is going to work. Now this might go even faster than 5 minutes, right? But we'll see how that goes. Now again, I'm sort of blocking the main. I also want to be as clean as possible. So you can see these sections here and this over here, right? I want to clean that up a little bit. I want to make sure that I get the as close as possible the shape of this entrance. And you could also do, like, again, these are not hard rules, right? You don't have to just do it just with this, right? Like I could start incorporating some set of lines in here, just kind of maybe break up the shapes, right? There's really not a hard rule. I don't want you to feel that you have to do it this way. I want you to really find your own way of sketching and coming up with ideas. And it might take a while, right? It should take a while because it's going to be something very different for everybody. But I want you to think about it, right? And really just, I think I don't want a circle here. I think I may want some sort of pathway into this space. Right. And I could keep it just like this because I have the idea down, right? But again, there's a lot that I need to figure out with how some of these things are going to function. But again, I have them in the back of my mind, but again, I don't want to. This is not the space for that, right? Right. And I could just leave it like this, right? And I mean, I could add some sort of maybe some lighting here, or the effect of lighting. So I could create a new layer, grab a lighter value, right? And maybe there's some light that goes through here. And so what I'm going to do is gonna double click that layer, and I'm gonna let the dark value peek through like this. And so now I can play with a little bit of lighting here. Right, if I wanted to. And I could just delete that and maybe just have like, maybe there's some lighting on the top here only. But again, this is something that, you know, this is lighting. This is something that I don't need to really figure out here. It's really not that necessary. But if you want to have fun with it, you can definitely play with that for sure. Right, maybe something like that. Right. So again, not a big deal, but we could have it just like that. And this is a very simple, quick sketch. And this is probably, I like to do a combination of both, right? I like to have big, basic shapes of value like this, simple value, right? Maybe add a little bit of light in there, and also add some line work just to kind of define certain things. But again, I want to keep this under 5 minutes. Now this next one is going to be a little bit more time spending, up to, I will say, 20 minutes at the most. Usually it takes from 10 to 15 to 20. And so it's going to depend on the subject matter, right? Now there's two ways that I like to start this. One is that I actually take a step by step where I first do a simple value one like this, right? Where it's a simple value, 2 to 3 values here. And I, you know, you could say that there's more here because of this sort of like gradient that I have going on here. But even if I didn't have this, right, this is a very simple 2 value sort of sketch. I like to do this first. In most cases, I find that it's better because it keeps the composition of the values simple as you progress with the image. Now you could start adding way more values, right? Starting from a blank canvas like this, but again, you have to be more aware about the simplicity of your value structure. In this case, I'm just going to start with what I already have in mind, where we spent a little bit, you know, about 5 minutes into this. And now I'm going to not worry about keeping the values limited. I'm just going to add values as if I was painting. And in most cases on this sort of version, I do think about the lighting. And I already have the idea here, so I don't have to think about it too much. But I'm just going to start painting here and add more values into the painting in itself, right? And so again, you can start from what you already have from the quicker set of versions of this, or you can start from scratch. And so I'm going to start adding a little bit more of value here. And again, I'm not super worried about the very specific design of things, right? But I just want to get a little bit more of a read into here. Get rid of my perspective here. And I'm just going to paint a little bit more in here. Now I'm going to get rid of the light right now. I can add it later, right? One thing I could do is I could start bringing my smudge tool and adding a little bit more of softer edges into some of these areas. You could also start thinking about local value of the objects. And so this stone here is going to be darker, or in my mind right now, it's going to be a little bit darker than the man-made structure here. And I'm sort of, you know, I already have a good range of values going on, so I'm going to start picking from the actual piece. And I'm gonna keep track of my time, of course, as much as I can. I want to make sure that the structure here reads in terms of the shape. So I have this sort of triangular shape going on for the entrance itself. I want to make sure that that reads. Now this version of sketching is really good just to kind of get better at your painting process, right? Again, it's probably not the one that I'll probably use, since this is just 20 minutes, right? 20 minutes is really not a long time. And so we're going to be limited by the amount of the things that we could do. But this is great for you to just, if you just really want to paint and just kind of get some ideas down. Do you think that maybe we could have some sort of like candles or something in here? Again, there is still a lot of things that we need to figure out structurally in here. But we're gonna do that later. I'm not super worried about it right now. A little bit of gloating here from the candles, from our light. Now this is a good opportunity to also use texture brushes just to kind of add a little bit of texture to the piece. Again, this is mostly just fluff on the image, right? It really doesn't make or break it, but it helps just to kind of add or fake a little bit of that detail into here. I'm trying to figure out how much of the background we want to show, like back here, right? Maybe this could be even like a broken path. Maybe we could even have some sort of like a shape where you have a direct square path like that, and then there's a circle, which is this section here, with the entrance here, and this is all broken up, right? Right. And so maybe we could have, let's do some cracks or something here. It's been about 8 minutes or so, plus the 5 that we spent on the initial idea, right? Thinking maybe the cracks. So this will be something that we'll have to figure out later, is the direction of the cracks, because they could be either this way or this way, right? Or sort of up and down. Just to kind of see, maybe there it's better to do it this way in this sort of angle, just to kind of point down to our main area, which is going to be this one. So we're using the cracks to lead the eye into that section. Right. This is going to be our sort of webbing in here. It's gonna have that effect in there. Cool. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, it doesn't matter. I could spend another hour just adding detail and all that stuff. But again, we want to keep these very quick because ideally you want to be doing a bunch of these, right? And you will have the time lapse for the other ones that I did, right? So this is the you'll get timelines for these. These are sort of 5 minutes using the previous method, right? Very quick. And then taking the same ones to spending a little bit more time, 10 to 20 minutes, doing this bunch of ones, right? And this is just having in mind the final product that we are gonna end up doing. So that covers the 4 chapters of module 10 on black and white sketching. The complete module has 8 chapters covering photo batching techniques, everything that you saw on the video, but also line art over renders and actually taking the sketches to a final presentation. Now the foundation course includes 11 modules right now, and it has over 30 hours of content. You will learn everything about environment design, but also how to start on environment design with design principles, studies, and everything that has to do with the foundation of environment design. You're gonna do some call outs, also prop design as well, and the complete pipeline that I use in the industry as an environment concept artist. I'll leave all the links in the description below. I'll see you guys in the next one.